My name is David London. I'm the Executive Director of AACI, the Association of Americans and Canadians in Israel. Before I digress from my remarks to say that yesterday in Jerusalem, we had a phenomenal marathon. There were 50,000 runners from all over the world and all over Israel participating. It was an amazing event, and it was wonderful to see things like that happen in Jerusalem. On behalf of AACI, the Jerusalem Post, and the Jerusalem Great Synagogue, it is my pleasure to welcome you. I want to take a moment to thank the Jerusalem Great Synagogue and its chairman, Asher Shapiro, for their vision in partnering this evening. I want to take a second and wish, most of you recognize that Asher is not here this evening, to wish Asher and his wife Lenore a refuah shlema. They unfortunately were both recovering from a severe car accident. So refuah shlema to them. The Jerusalem Great Synagogue views its role in the Jerusalem community as one of inclusiveness and unity. In addition to its already inspiring tefillot, the synagogue hosts a range of wonderful programs, including its Lone Soldier Friday night Shabbat dinner. Just last night, the synagogue hosted 150 lone soldiers from all corners of the world who have made Israel their home. This program is in its sixth year and Asher asked me to tell you it needs community financial support to be able to continue. Checks can be made out to the Jerusalem Great Synagogue with a note indicating that it is for the Lone Soldiers program. This evening is the culmination of a series of election events throughout Israel, which included Tel Aviv, Beersheba, Netanya, and Ra'anana, and reached thousands of participants. This week will be a great week. Its greatness will be reflected in the fact that will be choosing the leadership for our country. A dream come true for the Jewish people. We will all have the honor and privilege to help choose that leadership and our future. We will do this from a place of knowledge and conviction that is imbued with love and respect for all people, for all the people of Israel and its citizens. We may be a small country, but we have a big vote. Most of us come from countries with slightly larger populations than Israel. Many of us felt that in those countries our votes didn't make much of an impact, but here in Israel, each and every vote is so important. For some of you, it's your first vote for the Knesset. For some, you voted many times. For me, it's around my 10th time, unfortunately, in only 20 years. The parties and leaders change from election to election, and that is why the public service, AACI, working with the Jerusalem Post, has been organizing these English-speaking election forums for over 30 years. Our goal is for you, the voter, to be able to go to the polls on Tuesday, March 17th, knowledgeable and informed about the parties and the candidates who are asking for your vote. In Jerusalem, AACI hosts some 200 activities monthly in our wonderful home, the Dr. Max and Gianna Glassman Family Center. Our activities throughout Israel, but especially in Jerusalem, make AACI the active hub of the English-speaking community in Jerusalem and around the country. The issues that drive AACI are spearheaded by our Aliyah, Klita, and Employment departments, who make the complex facts of life in Israel easier to understand and navigate for both the new Oleh and the veteran Oleh. AACI's strength is in providing crucial information and advocacy for the English-speaking community. AACI's Shira Pransky Health Project makes the Israeli healthcare system understandable and accessible. It cannot be in today's world that people do not receive the health rights and care they are entitled to because of language issues. 2015 brings new challenges, especially for U.S. citizens. There are many changes in IRS reporting requirements. To stay aware and up to date on critical information, AACI programs and activities, the Shira Pransky Health Project, our amazing kosher travel in Israel and abroad, and the many issues affecting dual citizens, subscribe to our e-newsletter, www.aaci.org.il. As always, AACI is here for you in both the good and not so good times. If you are not yet a member, we look forward to you joining the AACI family in the future. Before each election, journalists contact me trying to pigeonhole me about the English-speaking community and its voting patterns. I want to say loudly that the English-speaking vote, the English speakers vote across the entire spectrum of Israel's political parties. However, while we may have different political philosophies, we all voluntarily left our homes and came to live and build our lives in the state of Israel. What brought us here and keeps us here, even during these difficult times, is our strong love for Israel. So our political and religious views may not be the same, but what unifies us is our belief that we need to seriously fight against corruption, that the rule of law needs to apply to all of Israel's citizens, even more so to its politicians. Disrespect, incitement, and violence must be stopped and corrected. You, the candidates representing your parties seated behind me, are asking for our vote. Please know that the people you are addressing this evening passionately love our country. I hope you will conduct yourselves in a dignified manner and be worthy of their vote. Right-wing or left-wing, religious or secular, socialist or capitalist, voting Israel takes on a life of its own. Let's have a great evening listening and, of course, being respectful to each other, no matter our personal beliefs. In Israel's elections, there are many options to choose from, but the most important thing is to exercise your democratic right and vote for your party of choice. I'm proud to be introducing our moderators from the Jerusalem Post. Not only is he a great journalist, but he's also a great guy. Steve Lindy has been editor-in-chief of the Jerusalem Post for almost 4 years. He has worked at the newspaper for 18 years, as well as at Israel Radio English News for 21 years. Lahav Hakov has been Knesset correspondent for the Jerusalem Post for almost 4 years and shares her insights and analysis on current events in Israel, on radio and television stations around the world. Thank you all for coming, and I now turn the program over to them. Thank you.
Good evening, Shavua Tov, and thank you so much for coming. I will actually be handing over mostly to Lahav Hakov, our Knesset reporter, to moderate the debate. But I'd like to say a few words before we start. Thank you also to Asher Shapiro, and we wish him and his wife a refuah shlema. Thank you also to David London and ACI, to my assistant Sapir Peretz, and to the whole team of organizers for this wonderful event, which, as David said, is the culmination of all our debates, which have been at a really high level. I'd also like to mention the sad passing today of Leah Van Leer, the Grande Dame of the Jerusalem Cinematheque. I happened to be wearing this suit at our Jerusalem Post conference, and she gave me this cachet of lavender, which I still have in my pocket. May her memory be for a blessing. Baruch Dayan Emet. Tonight, the great debate. And as you can see, 7 of the major parties have sent really, I think, their best speakers, their most eloquent English speakers, to participate in this debate. And it's really my honor and privilege to welcome you all here today. As David said, we'd like to focus on the issues. We would not like to regress to what some of this election campaign has done, which is ad hominem attacks and rhetoric that is not appropriate, but in the great tradition of English and I think Jewish debate as well, we'd like to keep it on a high level, addressing substantive issues rather than personal attacks. So let me welcome our wonderful lineup. Knesset member Rabbi Dov Lipman from Yesh Atid. He really was the address for English speakers in the last Knesset, and we hope you will be in the next Knesset as well. In fact, we hope you will all be elected to the next Knesset.
More than 120 seats.
It's time to change the system. Ambassador Michael Oren from Kulanu. who almost certainly will get a seat in the next Knesset because he's high up on the Kulanu list, and perhaps he will be the new address for English speakers in the Knesset. Ayelet Shaked, Bait Yehudi, who's very high up on the list as well. I'm purposely not saying numbers because I don't think they mean anything, but Ayelet Shaked is a very special legislator, and I think is unusual in that she is secular in a party that's mostly considered religious. So welcome to you. Former cabinet minister, science and minister without portfolio, the wonderful Benny Begin. I'd like to welcome Ashley Perry from Yisrael Beitenu, British-born, unlike the Americans here. Ashley worked for many years with Foreign Minister Victor Lieberman in the Foreign Ministry and now has gone into politics, and we wish you all the best. Uri Zaki from Meretz, here on my right, but on the left of the table. And finally, Knesset member Nachman Shai from the Zionist Union, a good friend, a columnist in the Jerusalem Post, and as you remember, a former IDF spokesman who calmed us down at one stage. Maybe you can calm us down tonight as well. Without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Jerusalem Post Knesset reporter Lahav Arkov.
Uri here is the only one who didn't get a bio, so I'll just interject a little. He was the head of B'Tselem in the US, right? Okay. Among other things. We're going to begin with general statements. Everyone will have a few minutes to talk about why the people here in the audience should vote for your party. But before we begin, I just want to say in the spirit of what Steve said about avoiding ad hominem attacks and mudslinging, first of all, I'm going to ask all of you to only talk about your own party in the general statement and not attack anyone else. And over the course of the debate, if you mention anyone else or anyone else's party, that person will get a minute to respond. So just keep that in mind. You might be giving your opposition extra speaking time. The general format will be that I will bring up a general question about a topic, and you'll each get to say your position on the topic, and we'll probably have rebuttals. And I, and sometimes also Steve, may interject with follow-up questions about the things you say. So let's begin with general statements. I'll give each of you 3 minutes, and we'll go along the table, starting with Mr. Zaki.
Is it possible to stand here if you want to?
Sure.
No, I mean physically. I mean, I think it's important because you know it's a big hole, but got you right. Yeah, thanks. Good evening, Shavua Tov to everybody. Thank you so much for coming. You know, this is one of the last, for sure the last English-speaking event, but one of the last events because we're only 3 days ahead towards the big day, Super Tuesday, if you like, of the Israeli election. I'm not sure it's right, but some folks told me, warned me that this might be an uneasy audience for me. I don't know whether it's right or not. We'll see according to the reaction I'm going to get. But nevertheless, I believe that everybody that you know lives in Israel appreciates the combination, the unique combination we have in Israel of being the national homeland of the Jewish people and a democracy. And Meretz stands for democracy. And Meretz is not shy about being the left of Israel. And the left is a concept that holds within it many ideas. You know, sometimes we fight, you know, in the Israeli debate, which flag to hoist, whether the political flag, the you know, the Israeli-Palestinian one, or the social-economical one, or the green one, and so on and so forth. For us, left means all that. The left in Israel, or the left in general, holds within it the notion of justice, of equality. And from that derive many ideas. First of all, the idea that there should be social solidarity in the state of Israel. That it's not right that a small percentage of the population gets so much of the wealth and the resources, and that there should be a different way of distributing Israel's resources, that the 99%, if you wish, would enjoy the fruit of the country. It also means, from the notion of equality, that we respect, the Jewish religion. I myself, oh, really? Well, I'll be very quick.